You are back live, Mr. Chair.
All right, thanks, Julian. We're back on the record. We just had an executive session to discuss the Parklet program and pilot parking lot program. We heard from Mr. Rice and we were able to ask him some questions. We also sought counsel from Mr. Lyles, our city attorney. Mr. Rice, I thank you again for being here tonight, but you can sign off whenever you want. Thanks so much. Okay. And I understand now we have Miss Carol here. Miss Carol, you with us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Hold on. Give me 1 second here.
Okay.
Ms. Carol, you've submitted an application for a consumption of alcoholic beverages on city property for the Stanton Center for a Mother's Day paint and sip scheduled for Sunday, the 8th of May, 2022 from 1 to 6 p.m., 92 Washington Street. Can you just give us your address for the record and go ahead and tell us a little bit about this event?
I live at 25 Hicks Avenue, Annapolis, Maryland. And the paint and sip is just painting on canvases and doing a little wine sip and a little bit of hors d'oeuvres with 16 of us. It's a sister circle, and we're gonna be eating crabs.
Okay. How many people do you expect to have there?
At the most, it's 16 was registered, but I think about 20.
Okay. Is everybody there going to be over the age of 21?
Yes.
Okay, great. You guys have security or anything of that nature?
Yes.
Okay. Who are you using for that? Do you know off the top of your head?
Mr. Wells, I forgot his card. It's in my office. Let me check.
Oh no, you don't have to get it. You don't. Yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I know you're at work. And then what are you doing for bartenders for this event?
Oh no, we just purchasing a couple of bottles of wine and just pouring it in cups. We don't have a bartender.
Okay. So you're providing it for no cost?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So the board members have any questions of Miss Carol for this event?
I motion to approve.
All right.
Second.
Second. All right. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, Miss Carol, congratulations. Have a good time, okay?
Enjoy
All
your
right,
event.
thank you all so much. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, now we will roll into our Parklet and pilot parking lot program requests. First up, we have a request for seasonal usage of a parklet or private parking lot to increase the license footprint to Galrob Inc., trading as Galway Bay, 61 to 63 Maryland Avenue, Annapolis 21401. Mr. Clark, good to see you. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, got it.
No problem.
Hey, Chairman, how are you?
If you could just, give us your address for the record and tell us a little bit about this application.
My Maryland address is 580 West Central Avenue, Davidsonville, Maryland 21035. As a licensee of Galway Bay, we're applying for the use of the Parklet program with the 2 spaces directly outside Galway Bay. During the recovery program, we operated these spaces with the tents and the bollards and everything that came with that in the recovery zone. And it was successful. It really, brought out people. They wanted to sit outside even in the winter. We were serving soup out there. So it's something that, because of COVID has become much more expected of our customers. And we made the decision, this Parklet program is not cheap. So we've got to weigh up the cost of leasing the space for the 6-month period that we're going to do. And we're also weighing up the cost of investing in a better platform for people to be more comfortable out there. With COVID, you didn't really know how long it was going to go on. So it was temporary. We had the pop-up tents and we had the orange and white barricades which was a condition of zoning. And really just tables that were unstable. I don't know if you've been down Maryland Avenue recently, but it's got a lot of bumps in it, particularly as BGE have been in it for a few times recently. So with this program, it will allow us to really put some work into it, make it nice, make it level, purchase better furniture, do nice umbrellas, and actually we spend a lot of money on our own plants at Galway Bay regardless anyway, but we'll be adding more to it for this part. So the service of alcohol to those tables would be an important part of it. And that's why we're here to apply for the permission to do so.
All right. Now, I know you had kind of a similar setup during COVID. Did you have any issues with people carrying beverages off the property at any chance, at any point?
Not at all. And I think really, you know, the public really appreciates that they can do this now, and have become used to it. They treat it like you're inside the restaurant. It's everything's delivered by a server, and they sit at tables. They move off the sidewalk. We don't have a sidewalk cafe, but it's like the sidewalk's still open, but the parklet that would be created there is seated at tables. They sit, they operate just as if they were in a restaurant, have the check and leave and move on their way. Galway Bay, we've been there for 23 years on Maryland Avenue. We have a very good local base of customers. They're loyal, and we've even had businesses on the street testify in support of what we've been doing, because it's added that little extra oomph for Maryland Avenue, which when they walk by and they can see it, and it brings them down there. So we think that's an important part just for Maryland Avenue as well.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. If during COVID any neighbors complained about your outside area, and
No.
sounds like it's the exact opposite. All right.
Yeah, exact opposite. And we're done by 9. Everybody's out, cleared off, and we're back inside by there. It's really getting that nice sun area, and you were able to look at the Capitol building and enjoy the summer evenings and the cooler evenings as well when it came into September, October. During COVID, we did operate it through the winter. We actually kept it there because people wanted that choice to be able to eat outside or have a beer outside. And they did that in coats, blankets, whatever they wanted to. Enjoy a cup of soup and maybe a pint of Guinness that they couldn't get at home. So it was good.
All right. Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Clark?
No, I don't have any questions.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was asking the board members if they had any questions of you.
Oh, okay.
All right. Hearing none, do I hear a motion regarding this request for seasonal usage of a parklet to Gal Rob Inc., trading as Galway Bay, 6163 Maryland Avenue, Annapolis 21401. I'm sorry, Claire, you're muted, but we'll take you as putting the motion on. Keely,
Sorry,
second.
yes.
Any discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, Mr. Clark, the request is granted. Thanks.
Thank you very much, the board.
luck.
Thank you.
All right. Next on our agenda, we have another request for seasonal use of a parklet or private parking lot to increase license footprint, including outside dining component with the service of alcohol to St. Croix North Inc., trading as Grump's Cafe, 117 Hillsmere Drive, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401. Do we have anybody here from Grump's?
So Chair, I don't believe so. I still have those 2 random numbers.
Oh yeah, let me see if we got,
One ending in 1718.
So this one, no, this is 443-852-2866 is the number that we have for Dina Bradbury.
Yeah, I do not seem to have her.
Okay. Well, we'll put this one to the side and maybe come back to it if somebody shows up. All right, so let's move on to the next item, which is another parklet request or private parking request by Harborside Grill LLC, trading as Latitude 38, 12 to 14 Dock Street, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401. And who's here for Latitude 38?
Mr. Chairman, can I make a point of order, please?
Sure.
So, Mr. Chairman, Parklet is basically a sidewalk cafe, and so I'm getting confused by sometimes referring to some of these as parklet/parking lot.
I'm just reading what's on the agenda to call it forward, and I think you have the opportunity to question Mr. Tompkins or any applicant on what they're specifically requesting. I'm just reading what's on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, sorry for the confusion. I'm reading what's on the agenda. So if there is any confusion, Mr. Ledoux, moving forward, if you could just ask specifically what the request is of the applicant. All right, I'm sorry, Mr. Tompkins, can you go ahead and give us your address for the record?
27233 Ridge Road, Damascus, Maryland, 20872.
Okay, can you tell us exactly what your application is for? Just go ahead and give the board a little background information, please.
Yeah, it's a continuation of the benefits we enjoyed during the order where we had the outside parklet dining. We are aware of the city's steps and process. Our space has gone from, I believe, 8 parking spaces down to 4. The city has already adjusted the barriers. We're just now following the steps of continuing to enjoy having diners seated in the outdoor space, and the ability to offer alcoholic beverages to them.
Okay, and this is, you said the city's already moved the barrier, so this is a smaller space than you had previously?
Correct, and it's immediately in front of our sidewalk, immediately in front of our main entrance.
Okay,
It's in view of all of our windows. We have windows on the 3rd floor, which basically stare straight down into this space. You could stand up there and just watch and observe if you wanted to. And we're prepared to, just like the others on this call, I'm sure, do whatever the city requires to maintain that space and safely serve alcohol, only confined to that area. The
Okay.
dining guests that are actually seated and ordering off the menu. It's not a gathering with high top tables. It's not a bar area. It's sit down tables of 4.
okay. Have you had any issues previously with this extension?
No, we haven't. We haven't had any issues. We haven't had any violations. With it being winter time, we didn't enjoy it during the winter, obviously, but no issues at all.
Okay, great. We'll turn it over to the board for any questions they may have of Mr. Tompkins. Yep, Mr. Ledoux.
Yeah, so Mr. Tompkins, thank you. So just to clarify, I can see the confusion and maybe why I was confused too. So it is a parking lot, but this isn't a private parking lot. These are the city's spaces in the lot that we all come to refer to as City Dock, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. So it is a parklet / sidewalk cafe, of course, crossing over the sidewalk.
Correct. And what I did not include that I heard Galway Bay include, we don't have neighbors per se. When it comes to residential neighbors, we have a couple offices in that little strip, but I believe they wrap up business by 5 p.m. every day. So there's not that, that component of disturbing any residential neighbors there as well.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tompkins. Any other questions? Yeah, Dick,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I have a question. Mr. Tompkins,
Hey,
Where
why
are
am I glowing red?
where are you right now? You're very dark. Can you
My
turn your
son's
lights
inside
on?
a barn. My son's inside a barn at a hitting lesson. I'm sitting inside my truck, but I'm not sure why I'm red.
I figured you were.
It must be the light from my phone shining back at me.
Mr. Tompkins, I'll just say, I mean, I've seen your setup, and I think you guys have done a pretty good job at maintaining the amount of space that you occupy, and
Right.
just keep up the good work. I mean, I've seen it myself, so
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. We do try.
All right, any additional questions of Mr. Tompkins? All right, hearing none, do I hear a motion regarding this request by Harborside Grill LLC, trading as Latitude 38, 12 to 14 Dock Street, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401.
So moved.
second.
Second.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, Mr. Tompkins, your request
Aye.
is approved.
Thank you. Thanks, Dick.
Hey, Ray.
All right, next up, we have Main and Market, which this one is a private parking lot for distinction. This is a request for seasonal usage of a parking lot to increase license footprint to include outside dining for Harborside Grill, which is Harborside Grill LLC. Oh, no, I'm sorry, wrong one. Main and Market, which is Federal Catering LLC, trading as Main and Market, 914 Beverage Road, Annapolis, Maryland, 21403. And who's here for Main and Market? Oh, Mr. Hogan, I'm sorry, you're muted.
You're muted.
Tom Hogan,
All right, Mr. Hogan, can you give us your address, please?
845 Coachway, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401.
All right, Mr. Hogan, why don't you tell us a little bit about this request?
This is a continuation of the outdoor dining setup we have in our private lot over in Bay Ridge at Main and Market. We would like to continue that as part of the dining area. Our customers enjoy it, our neighbors enjoy it, and I have the blessing of the landlord, which I included in my packet to Cindy. So it's really just what we've been doing for the past year.
Okay. And this is, in fact, this is a private parking lot, right? It's not city property?
It is private.
Okay, gotcha. All right, now, yeah, you said that this is kind of just an extension of what is in existence. Have you had any issues with this in the past?
None, no negative ones.
Okay.
Positive if it's nice out. They're regular picnic tables, and customers enjoy sitting outside.
Okay. All right, we'll turn it over to the board to see if anyone has any questions.
I have no questions. I mean, I've again, as I've told the last the last restaurant that, I mean, I've seen your setup. You guys do a really good job. It looks like parking, definitely because it's a private parking lot. There are plenty of spaces, so I can't imagine you guys have too much problem with traffic control and stuff like that with parking. So just, keep up the good work.
Thanks, it's working out great.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that the board approve the application conditionally on the condition that the planning and zoning director certifies that the application meets the applicable zoning requirements. This would be consistent with code section 7.04040. And the rationale for that motion being that the rules and regulations regarding the use of the private parking lots are still under development. So
Sure.
It would be a conditional approval, just needs the sign off of the planning and zoning director, as my read of the code is required anyway.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion on Mr. Ledoux's motion? Effectively, it's just a motion to approve pending the seal of approval from planning and zoning.
Mr. Fraley?
Yes, sir.
For what it's worth, I went through that process when we originally put up the tent. The fire marshal, wanted to check the flame spread on the tent. Planning and zoning stamped off on it. So that was done when we originally put the tents up. For what it's worth, it wasn't asked for this time around.
Okay, well,
But
it may be as simple
there-
as just submitting the approval from planning and
Okay.
zoning if nothing's changed, just so that our file's complete. I think Mr. Ledoux's concern is we just pursuant to our rules and regulations in the city code, it's just something we want to have for the file. So if you've already got it done, you're almost there,
Okay.
okay? Any additional discussion on the motion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, the request is granted. I'm sure you will get that approval in very, very quickly, Mr. Hogan, and thanks so much for being here tonight, okay?
Thanks, everyone.
Good luck, Tom.
Thanks, Dave.
All right. We're back in the Parklet. forum
Mr. Chair,
Yep, yes, sir.
Just one thing about the conditional approvals.
Mhm.
We need to make sure that we have a date certain on those in the next motion.
Okay,
And that if the conditional approval needs to be sent into Cindy, you just want to clear that so
Okay.
that we can inform the board that your condition has been met.
okay, apologies for that, for not having.
No, it's my fault. I should have
Yeah.
caught it. I just figured whenever you put conditions, we want to put a date on it. It's 30 days, 60 days, whatever it's going to be, so that we can then know to call or tickle somebody if it doesn't happen.
Got it. All right. Thank you, Mr. Lyles. All right. Next up, we have a request for seasonal usage of a parklet for Market SPS LLC, trading as 1771 G&T, 26 Market Space, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401. Who do we have here from 1771 G&T, if anybody?
Sure, I don't believe we do have anyone here.
Okay. All right, let me make a note of this. So,
There's a phone number here and another, but if either of those are the people, if there's a digital hand at the bottom of your screen, or by calling, it's *6 or *9, and that will let me know.
yeah, it looks like, Julian, the number that we have on record is 410-271-4031.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, we'll put that one to the side and we will come back to it. And then we will move on to our request for seasonal usage of a parklet by Dock Street Enterprise.
Mr.
doing-
Chairman,
Yep.
I'm sorry. I wanted point of order. So we can't hear it because the applicant isn't here, but is that a rule we could suspend?
I think we certainly could waive the appearance if the board is so inclined. But if the board would like to ask somebody questions of what they're seeking, we would need their presence. So if the board's inclined, I believe we can in fact waive the requirement of the applicant being present. But it's up to the board.
Well, I just thought this one seemed, from the material submitted, at least from my perspective, seemed straightforward on the parklets. But again, I would make a motion to suspend the rules. Obviously, if it gets a second, if there is a board member that does want to hear from the applicant, you need a unanimous vote to suspend the rules.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Ledoux to suspend the rules and to proceed forward without the applicants being present. Is there a second? No second? All right, well, then it fails. I appreciate the effort, Mr. Ledoux, but looks like we're not gonna do anything with 1771 G&T. So we'll put them at the back of the pile. Maybe they'll show up in a little bit. Who knows? So we'll move forward then with Dock Street. Again, this is a request for seasonal usage of a parklet for Dock Street Enterprises, Inc., trading as Dock Street Bar and Grill. Who do we have here? We see Mr. Howard. Mr. Howard, how are you?
Good.
Could you just give us your address for the record, please, and tell us a little bit about this request?
Sure. It's 190 Campus Green Drive, Arnold, Maryland, 21012.
All right, and tell us about what you're seeking.
Basically, it's just an extension of what we've had through the recovery zone. But with this, it's just 2 spots, which is actually the length of our facade. And we are no longer partnered in with our neighbors. So that footprint is shrinking by 2 full parking spots. And it's just a continuation of what we've been doing for about 2 years now.
All right, same hours of operation?
Yep, same hours of operation. Everyone tip certified. 7 days a week we have a greeter/security. Never had an issue. We utilize the space. Our food is good, and people downtown really seem to enjoy it. So, and it's actually helped us immensely with, coming back from COVID.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Howard? All right, hearing none. Do I hear a motion regarding this request for seasonal usage of a parklet for Dock Street Enterprises, Inc., trading as Dock Street Bar and Grill, 136 Dock Street, Annapolis, 21401?
So moved.
Moved and Kia, do you second? You're muted. Okay. Moved and seconded. Do we have?
All
any
right, voice,
additional
second.
Okay. Any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, your request is approved. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Good job. Good job, Jeff. Take care.
Thank you, Key.
All right, we have a private parking request here. We have a request for seasonal usage of private parking lot to increase the license footprint to include an outside dining component to 90 miles to Cuba Inc. Trading as Boatyard Bar and Grill, 400 4th Street, Annapolis 21403. And who's here for the Boatyard tonight?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Kevin Schendel, General Manager present.
Hey, Kevin, how are you? Can you just give us your address for the record, please?
Absolutely. It's 412 Golf Course Drive, Arnold, Maryland, 21012. And I think
All
Dick's
right.
going to join us as well.
Oh, good. Is he there with you?
No, we're home. I'm waiting for him to join in, but if he doesn't come in, I'm happy to answer all questions.
Kevin, I haven't seen him show up tonight.
He bailed on you.
That's all right. We'll
Story
proceed.
of your life, Kevin.
Isn't that the truth?
All right, why don't you tell us a little bit about this request?
Well, of course, just like many other applicants tonight, we're asking for a continuation of what we've done for the past 2 years, which is to have serve liquor in our outdoor parking lot, which is owned by Dick Fragno, private parking lot, and to carry on what we've done under the recovery zones moving forward.
Okay. And this is effectively the same setup that you had previously?
Exact same setup.
Okay. And do you have any issues previously during the recovery period?
We did not have any issues during the recovery period. We did have an issue on our last liquor sting, which I think we should address. We did fail. So I'm ready to discuss what happened there. But other than that, and Dick's joining us right now, but that's the only issue we've had.
Okay, well, that's not even before the board tonight.
Okay.
I appreciate your honesty, but we haven't seen the citation. We haven't seen anything yet. Really, the only thing that's before the board tonight is the extension into your private parking lot. So that'll be addressed at another date, but I appreciate your honesty there. All right, does the board have any questions of Kevin or Mr. Fragno, who's here with us tonight now too?
Hello.
Any questions?
Exactly the same setup, right?
Yeah, I think that's what he said, Dick, the same setup as they've had.
Same setup.
Yeah, you guys have had success. I sound like a broken record, but you guys have done a good job with having it in the parking lot there. So,
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Liddell.
I would like to approve the application with the issuance of the license conditioned on the clerk receiving a certificate from the Planning and Zoning Director, consistent with section 7.04040 of the code, within 90 days of tonight's approval.
All right, there's been a motion made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion?
yes, what does that read, Chris?
That's the zoning approval, Dick. I'm sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to take the wind out of your sails.
No, go ahead, Mr. Chairman. That just means the Planning and Zoning Director has to sign off that it's going to meet the rules and regulations that they're developing and that meets all the zoning requirements. That's all. It's already a requirement in our rules and the code. It's not something that's being invented tonight. And Dick, it's to allow me, at least for my purposes, it's difficult for me to approve it without seeing the rules and regulations yet that are still in development by the city. So it's just saying if they do that tomorrow and Planning and Zoning says this applicant meets whatever, which they have to anyway, the license issues, that's all.
Yeah, they did approve our tent, and they, we had to put in for a permit, and they approved that the seats and the tent. That was done last year.
And it may be that it just requires submission of that and, you know, approval. But I think Mr. Ledoux's concern, Mr. Prano, is that we meet, that zoning signs off on it first. Okay, so I know there was a motion, there was a second. Any additional discussion?
I guess my question is there something significantly different from last year that was approved versus now? Am I missing something?
I think it's the exact same setup from my understanding.
So if our tent was approved and we put in for another permit this year and that was approved too, does this mean we have to apply another time, or?
I think what it is that the Department of Planning and Zoning, as I understand it, is writing rules and regulations as we speak with regard to parking lots. They're not published yet. And so my motion was intended, because without knowing what those are, and I'm sure they're not going to be a problem or anything different, you know, our rules require that anyway, and we don't have that yet, as I understand it. Section 7.04040 of the code requires that the clerk not issue a liquor license until the clerk receives this certification from the planning and zoning director. So.
I don't. Does this mean we've got the tent up? We'd like to use the tent. We've hired staff. We have flowers and palm trees in there, just the same as we have last year. We were approved by P&Z. We applied for the permit again this year. We were approved. I mean, so this means we can use the tent subject to within 90 days, they're going to review something. I mean, we're doing this subject to the city's pilot program. And during the program, they want, you know, and Steve Rice has been saying, we want your tent up, because if there's no tent up, there's no pilot program for us to study. So I understand that there's a pilot program which will be studied over time, over the summer, over this period when we have up our tent, and to see if there's any adverse effect, which there has not been over the COVID period. So, I mean, if I can use my tent and and then over this period, they're going to study, you know, our effect and anyone else's effect, then that's fine. I mean, that's how I understand how this is going to work.
Well, and Mr. Chairman, I mean, if you know, I feel like we're getting into the weeds way too deep into something that is not necessarily in the liquor board's purview at the moment. You know, if this is a consideration we have to make for all private parking, I mean, this is, how do we consider it right now if, according to Chris, this is changing as we speak, or rules are being rewritten? I'm a little confused on our jurisdiction at the moment when it comes to this. So any kind of guidance, Mr. Lyles, or you know, how we can proceed with this? I think we need to figure that out.
Yes.
I continue to see this occurring.
My opinion is consistent with my original comments, that the activities of this board and the activities of these establishments in the recovery zone is extended by virtue of R 2222. And so the board can, if it desires, continue granting the extended liquor license into the same area that was allowed during the recovery zone. The reason I say that is because the word recovery zone is used in the resolution of the council, and planning and zoning director and their activities do not trump the council. The council is the zoning authority, and the council has spoken on this issue. So my comments are, as If the board wants to add additional conditions, you can do that, but it's not necessary.
In that case, Mr. Chairman, I mean, I motion to approve.
We have a motion on the floor here that was made by Mr. Ledoux and seconded. So we then.
Let me just have one last discussion on my motion.
Sure.
With all due respect to the city attorney, the zoning authority of the city is with the city council, except to the extent it's delegated to the planning and zoning director. All my motion is trying to point out is that currently, both under the code and our rules, we're not to issue a license until we have in our hand, the clerk has in her hand, a certificate from the planning and zoning director that all the zoning requirements, whatever is applicable, whatever Mr. Lyles is going to advise the planning and zoning director, that all of those requirements have been met. We're not supposed to be the zoning people. We're not supposed to get in the weeds of the zoning. It's just the code and the rules say that has to be met. We also are in a situation where they're building those rules as we speak. So as soon as they build those rules, and as soon as they look at Dick's tent or whoever, and they sign off on it, our conditional approval, the license gets issued. That's all I'm trying to point out. We have a chicken and the egg. I'm trying not to, at least from the perspective of my single vote on the board, I don't want this to carry over to next month. And I'm not saying that would happen, but I'm just saying there is an issue here that there is a requirement that the zoning director sign off on this that hasn't happened. I don't see it in the file. So that's why my motion was made to approve it, conditioned on the planning and zoning director signing off on it, which they should do anyway. So that was my point, Kia. Because technically these applications in my mind on the parking lots are somewhat premature, and we're trying to move quickly to help the restaurants, in my personal opinion. So.
My view on it, and I just offer recommendations and opinions. The recovery zone period, the emergency period, required zoning approval for the tents and the parking lot usage. If that has been received already, and this continues what has already been approved, in my view, the board has that information, has that certification already. So you can continue to accept that approval if nothing is changed, in my humble opinion. And apparently in this particular instance, the witness has appeared before you and said, we're doing exactly what we did during the emergency period. And the city council has acted under R 2222 and said, the recovery zone activities continue for the period of the study. And I do believe that the rules and regulations around planning and zoning's regulatory scheme have less to do with the ABC board and more so to do with inspections and monitoring going forward during and after the study period, so that the planning and zoning board can act in its authority to continue to approve these things, because they may receive applications from businesses that have never had use of their parking lot before, right? So they've got to make up something that didn't technically exist in the same way for the emergency period, because the emergency period, a lot of the rules were very relaxed and abrogated so that these things could be done for the overall health and safety of the public.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Lyles. Mr. Ledoux, any additional discussion? Okay.
I mean, I would say that our tent and the setup of the tent was approved by the city, was approved by P&Z, and that way it was all done under the COVID rules. This would be our third period of putting the same thing back, and P&Z was involved in approving that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Franio. All right, so there's a motion on the floor that's been seconded. We'll call the question. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. No additional votes. All right, it doesn't carry. So with that, I would make a motion for approval with no contingencies.
I second.
Yep.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right, that motion will carry.
Opposed?
Noted. Thank you, Mr. Ledoux. All right, it carries with no contingencies. You guys are good to go.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
all.
Mr. Chair.
Who's
I
calling?
believe Tokens might have a question after that conversation. I don't know if you want to.
I'm sorry, Julian.
So I believe Mr. Tompkins might have a question after that conversation just occurred.
Mr. Tompkins.
The previous,
Yeah,
Just raising his hand.
his was for a parklet with no contingencies, completely different. Does, I mean, if he has he's already been before the board. If he has a question, I think he can submit it to the city clerk and she can.
My apologies.
All right. All right, we good to move on? Okay, next up, we have another request for seasonal usage. Parklet for Davis Pub, request for seasonal usage of a parklet for the service of alcohol and food, 643 DP Inc., trading as Davis Pub, 400 Chester Avenue, Annapolis, Maryland, 21403. We have for Davis's Pub, Mr. Colbeck.
Yes, good evening.
Hey, how are you? Could you give us your address for the record, please?
1 Chester Avenue, Annapolis, Maryland, 21403.
All right, thank you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this request?
Well, so we're kind of an interesting request. During COVID, we were blessed to be able to use the entire street at the corner of 4th and Chester. When they extended the recovery zone, we applied for the same thing and were denied. With the addition of the parklet, we have applied for the parklet. 2 spaces immediately adjacent to our current outdoor dining cafe licensed area with a sidewalk in between it. For those of you guys that weren't familiar with it, the street was loved by everybody, including the neighbors who saw a reduction in traffic and parking because of it. Certainly saved Davis's Pub from disappearing during the pandemic. It was great for us and kept us afloat. And just want to keep the people that want to continue to dine outdoors, offer them that option with liquor.
All right, thank you. I'm going to ask you the same questions that you've heard. Is there, I know it's a smaller area, but any change to the operation?
We're going to shrink the operation down. So
Yeah.
it's essentially the same thing, just smaller footprint.
Okay, gotcha. And did you have any issues at all during the pandemic with that operation at a larger scale, if you will?
No, we're very fortunate. All of our managers, bartenders, and servers are all currently tip certified. And as Mr. Clark mentioned, the neighbors seem to like it and respect it, and they want to see it succeed. So they kind of worked with us a lot more than people might have pre-pandemic.
Okay. All right. Any questions of Mr. Colbeck about this request? All right. With that, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve. Second.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, your request is granted. Congratulations.
Aye.
Thanks, stay safe. Okay, next up, we have another request for seasonal usage of a parklet. This is for Preserve LLC, trading as Preserve, located at 164 Main Street, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401. And hi, Ms. Hoffman, how are you?
Hello. Nice to see you all again.
Can
Yes,
you just give us your address for the record and tell us a little bit about this request?
sure. My home address is 104 Stone Point Drive, unit 413, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401.
Okay, great. Go ahead and tell us about your parklet request.
So yes, we've followed the rules set forth to apply to lease our parklet in front of the footprint of the restaurant Preserve at 164 Main Street. And we also do want to add 4 tables, so 2 tables for 2 and 2 tables for 4. We would use this additional space to create jobs, which we have already hired a lovely young lady to help us during the seasonal time, and also to extend what we already do at our very intimate dining space. So Preserve is a pretty small restaurant. It's 46 seats. We would like to have those additional 12 seats to, as they say, make hay when the sun shines. And this would be exact hours of operations as we currently operate on the approved licensed area. So Wednesday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Though we might be at the heart of Main Street, we are very much a more, I'd say, approachable fine dining. We stick to those hours. We don't really have a late night bar crowd. And if so, it's generally someone walking home for a nightcap, enjoying a craft cocktail, which, as you know, are not necessarily like a pop a top, get open fast. It takes about 5 minutes to make these wonderful cocktails my staff dreams up. So it is very much experiential dining, I think, in the heart of Main Street. So we'd love to be able to provide that outside during the season and the approved lease agreement with the city.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the board, Ms. Hoffman? All right, hearing none, do I hear a motion for approval for this request for the Parklet use for Preserve LLC trading as Preserve 164 Main Street, Annapolis 21401?
I'll forward the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, Ms. Hoffman, your request is granted.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And my staff will be very happy to have a little extra gratuities. Take care. Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks. Next item concerns Forward Brewing. I have to recuse myself in accordance with our rules. The next senior member has to fill in for me. So Dick, I'm going to let you take the reins here if you don't mind.
We have a request for usage of a parklet or private parking lot to increase license footprint to include an outside dining component with a service of alcohol and food for Forward Brewing LLC, trading as Forward Brewing, 418 4th Street, Annapolis, Maryland, 21403. Who is here for Forward?
Hi, Dick Phildale's here, Liv Walsh and Simmons, 181 Harry S. Truman Parkway. I'm the attorney representing Forward Brewing, and Mr. Bodrin, the owner, is also here.
Yep.
Thank
Cam
you,
Bodrin.
Mr. Dale. I'm sorry, Cam, go ahead.
I'm here.
Your address, Cam?
109 East Bayview, Annapolis, Maryland, 21403.
Great, thank you. You may begin your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. We submitted the required site plan as part of our letter requesting the continuation of the rights that were extended by R2222 and originally provided by the recovery zone resolution. And in that site plan, we outlined in red the area we're proposing to continue outdoor service in the parking area. We've excluded the rear of the lot because of an agreement we have with the owners behind the property there. So we're in addition to the required buffer where the red outline shows that we won't be serving in that area. We also indicated we won't be serving past 10 p.m., which is the requirement. And so we're really, like the other applicants here tonight, looking to continue what we've been doing during the recovery zone's authorized activities. And we can answer any questions that the board may have. I do want to speak on a legal point. The language in R2222 extends the rights of the restaurants that were provided in the recovery zones. That's the paragraph that begins, and be it further resolved. Sorry, I'll find it here. And be it further resolved by the Annapolis City Council that the pilot program shall temporarily extend the rights of restaurants within the areas formerly known as recovery zones to utilize their parking areas for outdoor dining in accordance with permit requirements established by the Department of Planning and Zoning. So those rights were authorized by the initial recovery zones resolution. And at that time, the Director of Planning and Zoning indicated the appropriateness of that and approved on the zoning side, the resolution in the recovery zones. This extends all of those rights. And so the confirmation that this is a permitted use by the Director of Planning and Zoning has already been established. And I think that's why you've heard some of the other applicants tonight mentioning that they had already gotten approval from the Department of Planning and Zoning. The resolution's intent from the City Council was to take all of those rights and those same rights and just extend them for the 6 months that our 22 contemplates. So I hope that provides some clarification. And I think I'm in agreement with what the city attorney said on that point a moment ago. So with that, Cam, do you want to add anything about what we're asking for here?
No, nothing beyond doing what we've been doing for the past almost 2 years.
Thank you very much.
Any questions from the board? Mr. Ledoux.
Thank you, Dick. Thank you very much, Mr. Dales. I really appreciated your very thorough legal analysis of the letter. It did address a lot of the questions I had, particularly around zoning. A lot of your letter talks about zoning requirements, and I guess that's the point, because our rules and the code require a certificate from the planning and zoning director, which seems to be greatly in absence in a lot of these applications. Be that as it may, can I ask you, because as you know, there's been a lot of public interest lately, testimony at the city council, et cetera. Can I ask you about seating? You say on page, I think it is 4, item 3, might have the page number wrong here. You say Forward will continue to offer relatively limited seating. Looking through your file, the use case or the use permit for the restaurant subject to standards is limited to 50 seats. How many seats are currently planned within both inside the premises, the patio in the front, and now the expanded area?
We're certainly under the 50 seat threshold. Cam provided the site plans during the recovery zones period to Stephen Rice, and they were all approved. Cam, I know that you changed that and adapted that plan throughout the pandemic and the recovery time after the end of the state of emergency. Do you recall how many seats? I know that there's the tables there, some have standing area outside, but I believe we're well under that 50 seats. Can you at least confirm that for Mr. Ledoux?
Yeah, I'd have to look back, but
I think just the fact that we're under 50 seats is what Mr. Ledoux is looking for.
Mhm.
Yeah, I wanted to address that the perceptions may be out there that there was an expansion of seating and whatnot, and that's not the case, as I understand your submission.
Correct. And Mr. Ledoux, we didn't on the site plan, we just were required to indicate the area where we're asking to expand the licensed premises. So the red line doesn't show seats, but we will confirm that it will be less than 50 seats.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Dales. I mean, obviously you've been hearing our discussion on the other things. That's, I think, why, from my point of view, both the code and the rules require just the planning and zoning director indicate that. We're not supposed to be the zoning police, but in the absence of that, and especially with rules still under development, it's kind of a, chicken and egg type of thing.
Understood. And Mr. Ledoux, I appreciate your concern for that. And that's why I was hoping to provide some comfort for you in that I believe that certification was provided by the zoning director at the beginning of the pandemic. And since the resolution specifically just extends the rights that existed during the recovery zones, I believe that's already in place and you guys are not shirking your duty to require that. So I think the conditions probably aren't necessary to address that issue with that history in mind.
Well, and also with your thorough submission of the zoning issues, which was very helpful to me. So I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ledoux.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. Cindy, do you have any public comment on this that we need to address, in favor of or against? Hearing none. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second? Claire, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Forward
Chairman.
Brewing has been approved. Thank you, Cam. Thank you.
Thanks, Cam.
Mr.
Thanks, guys.
Phil.
Thanks,
Thank
Phil.
you.
Thank you, guys.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
And I'd like to welcome back Mr. Fraley, please.
I don't know, you're doing such a good job. I'll just let you roll with it.
No, I'll just be your backup. That's-
All right, we'll go to I think it's the last item on tonight's agenda. Buddy's Crabs and Ribs, Inc., trading as Buddy's Crabs and Ribs, has filed a request for the seasonal usage of a parklet for the extension of service of alcoholic beverages and food. So who do we have here tonight from Buddy's? All right, I see Mr. Blonder. Mr. Blonder, are you here?
Yeah, both Mr. Harvey Blonder and Kevin Blonder are here.
Oh, here we go. Here's Kevin.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we gotcha. We gotcha.
Okay, thank you.
Just give us your address for the record, Kevin.
2901 Good Luck Lane, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401.
All right, thanks. Just tell us a little bit about this parklet extension request.
Okay. It's pretty much the same thing that we've had for the last 2 years, as everybody else has said. They have moved the barriers this morning to include the space that they're giving us now to use. So it's a little different than it was, but virtually the same thing out in front of the restaurant, out in front of 100 Main Street. So it'll extend to the corner. At first there was 3 meters, then there was the 9 spaces. Now the 3 meters aren't there. So it starts right at the corner and then it goes over 4 spaces or 4.5 spaces.
Okay.
We'll continue to,
Okay,
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
We'll continue to do the same thing that we've done for the last 2 years. We haven't had a problem. A lot of people have, expressed a lot of interest in wanting to eat outside, and we've accomplished that by being allowed to use it for the last 2 years and fulfill their requests.
All right. Any questions from the board? All right.
So,
Go ahead. Yep, sorry, yeah.
If I think I understand it correctly, so you're going to the corner that's like in front of the jewelry store to
That's
where
correct.
to where you were. Okay. Yeah, I know. I think
No.
no.
There's less spaces now. Our area is a lot smaller than what it was.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So
So
it
you're not
might
even
be-
you're not gonna have a place to where even people could pull up for 5 minutes and pick up.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Gotcha.
I get it now.
Okay.
Now that was helpful, but they took that away a while ago. I mean, they didn't. I don't think they were monitoring the meters, but they had taken that we couldn't put on there. That was for
Okay.
going upstairs to get their takeout order.
Gotcha.
Mr. Ledoux?
So I'm looking at 2 drawings, I guess, in what had been sent to me. Can you, and I don't know if I can show you the 2 drawings, but I'll try to describe them. I'm looking at one drawing that looks like, well, both drawings look like they have the same layout of the parklet within the barricades. But the 2 drawings are different in terms of the number of tables on the sidewalk itself.
We didn't know exactly where they were going to put the barriers out. So we had to give you a drawing to do it. So it's more like the smaller one.
So it's the smaller one, given where they
Yeah.
put the barrier. Okay.
And David Gerald said that we could, because the next two buildings are our buildings as well, that we could put on the sidewalk if we wanted to. Well, I'm not sure that we'll do that. If it extended further down Main Street as it was before, then I think we would, but I don't think we will now. But I don't.
So then I'm suggesting maybe to the chairman then, or anyone who makes a motion, that we would, if we were inclined to do so, we would move the larger plan, because then they could just curtail it back themselves, in that if we approve the smaller plan and they wanted to get larger, they'd have to come back to us. Does that make sense? Or?
Yeah, understood, Chris. I think that's a great idea that we.
Great. Thank you for suggesting that.
No problem. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, any additional questions for Mr. Blonder? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for this request for the use of the parklet.
Oh, forward the motion.
I'm like, yeah, second.
Okay, second, I'd like to have a little discussion. The motion would just be with the larger drawing being the one, right? Okay, okay. All right.
With the understanding that at the applicant's discretion, they could.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, can always go less, can't go more. I get it. Yeah. All right, so the motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor with the large drawing, say aye.
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 Okay. Congratulations, Mr. Blonder. Your request is granted.
Thank you. I appreciate everything you all have done.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Kevin. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
All right, any other business to come before? Yes, Cindy, what's up?
So I just wanted to update the board now that we have are ending the renewal process of the liquor licenses, that there are 3 businesses that failed to renew. They were held by, or being held by, the state. In fact, the state of Maryland is saying don't release these licenses. The city does not know why. It is up to the businesses to then resolve those issues so that they can get their business license and complete their renewal process. Since those 3 businesses have not, we have sent notices to them. They have removed their liquor. The police department is on notice and will be going around regularly to make sure that they continue to keep their stock out of the public eye and that they are not selling alcohol until such time as the state releases them. I will then have to put them before you guys to make a decision on if you want to revive those licenses, if they need to reapply, whatever the will of the board is. So I just kind of wanted to let you know what was coming.
I'm sorry, Cindy, I didn't hear who these licenses were.
I didn't tell the names. If you want to call me, I can give you the names of the 3 businesses.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought I'd missed the names. Thank you.
No, I didn't say.
Talk to you later.
Okay.
So Cindy, are you saying that they have lapsed, or are you suggesting that we have to do something to suspend them?
I'm saying that the licenses expired. All liquor licenses expired on April the 30th. And for those 3 businesses, the state of Maryland has said, do not release their licenses. So we have not.
Requested them, but they haven't applied anyway.
Haven't applied for.
They've not applied for an extension, have they?
They have not.
Okay. So
Yeah, they can't apply. They can apply, but we can't do anything about it.
just trying to understand the state request. Yeah, but if they haven't applied, I mean, that's
you can
easy.
call us. Yeah, you can call us and we'll give you the details.
Oh, I think I understand. I see it in the rules.
It's a mix of things.
Mm-hmm.
All right, anything else tonight?
Yeah, just wanted to, Mr. Chair, we have a notice at the bottom. This is probably for the public.
Oh.
Virtual meetings can continue, and it has nothing to do with the state of emergency. That is over. But the virtual meetings are continuing because the Hillman Garage is being demolished. And so that's the reason, from the public standpoint, it's not the emergency for the virtual meetings. There's no garage. However, there is sufficient parking and shuttle buses and other means of getting to Hillman, getting to the city hall if the board decided to have live meetings. But that's totally within your purview. You can continue to have virtual meetings for the next 14, 18 months while the garage is being rebuilt.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
didn't we, 1 or 2 meetings ago, make a motion to go back to meeting in person, and then the city manager said that we could not?
Yeah, I
So
was, yeah, I was.
If we can go back to meeting in person, I would make a motion to do that.
I'd second that.
I've been talking to planning and zoning about whether or not we could build a parklet in front of your house. And
Hey, everybody else does. It's okay.
My camper's been parked out front for months.
So long as we're done before 11, we could park on Pinckney Street. It's already closed. And just
Cindy,
walk
can we-
over.
Are we supposed to stay in virtual land? Is that the preferred method?
It's up to each board or commission or city agency that has these evening meetings.
Okay.
They can do as they want to do. If you're going to come back live, we just need to know that so that we can prepare.
Jimmy,
Yeah, Cindy, go ahead.
can I just add that also we need to be mindful of the fact that we see applicants. So you have to allow for.
That's a really good
their
point.
parking in addition to-
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just what I was gonna say. Thank you.
Drat.
Drat.
But the city, just fully apprise everybody, the city has free shuttles that last until 11. So anyone needing to come to City Hall can park at Park Place.
Okay.
And for free. We'll give, if folks who want to get the passes, we'll make sure that they get passes and they can come.
Okay.
I think that's asking a whole heck of a lot of people.
Yep, could be. But it's
Just
entirely
a
your
minute.
decision. It's entirely your
We
decision.
still have a motion on the floor.
Go back live.
What?
I will, yeah, so discussion on the motion, Dick. I mean, Mr. City Attorney, and I guess it's something we could check with, I don't know who, city manager, but there's no reason we have to have our meetings at City Hall, right? We could convene at Pip Moyer. I know some.
That is the other option. I was going to mention that. So thanks for bringing that up, Mr. Ledoux. Yes, we do have other options, and Pip Moyer is one of them.
Interesting.
If I could just add to you there, Mike, the one hurdle there is that if you're to do that, you would not have any live recording.
No
of it.
recording,
Oh.
no ability to do minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, we could make it happen. We just have to move a lot of.
Well, and then we're
I wouldn't
contending
say that,
with,
Mike.
we're contending
They-
with, softball leagues, parking. We're contending with a lot of other things that nobody's thinking about.
There's no infrastructure, say at Pip Moyer, say from the city chambers.
You guys want me to withdraw my motion? Is that what you're saying?
Call it.
I think so.
No, but I think Dick raises a point. I mean, I've testified at other boards and commissions as a member of the public. And I think, it's a little, I don't know if anybody was clamoring to testify or not, but, whatever we can do to become as open
Yeah.
as we can.
I agree.
And
with Chris.
there'll be sufficient parking at Gott's garage, so folks in decent weather can
Okay.
walk 2 blocks and be at City Hall as well.
Several of us live in Eastport. We know what parking problems are.
Yep.
So, Kia, you who live on the edge, I know you have all kinds of parking, but let's make a decision because I'm running out of battery.
Oh dear.
What do you want me to say, Dick? I'm not, I
Mr.
say
Chair,
we
you
still
have, you have a motion and a
Or
second.
again.
Yeah, there's a motion and a second to reconvene live. We've had discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed?
I abstain. I want to.
Motion fails, Mr. Chair.
What's that?
It
Yeah,
fails.
It
Okay.
fails. We're gonna stay virtual for the time being.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right. All right.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I
Ooh,
second that.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye.